Welcome in, Paul Catalina, Steven Simcox. It's Wednesday Wheel Day. That's going to be exciting.
Yep.
We have to talk about coaches, like the coaches' salaries released today, or like I say released. Everybody knew what they were, but, just something to talk about, who's earning their money and who's not. USA Today had a column today about that. And we'll get Steven thoughts on the Big 12 and the nation at large and see, how he feels after TCU had a bye week. And do you feel, was it liberating to not have to suffer?
They couldn't hurt me on Saturday. Kind of got to do what I wanted, not have to worry about, emotionally investing in the Frogs.
FSU was off too, so I know exactly how you feel.
It was a heavy bye week for teams that I feel like are struggling at the moment.
Yeah. Kansas was off.
Yeah, Baylor was off.
Yeah.
So a lot of schools getting a little break from
It is like they said, okay, look, we think and nobody thought that FSU was going to be this bad, but we think that some of these schools are going to be really bad. This is a big week for television. Let's make sure the bad ones are off. Like, let's just make sure
we don't even need
to
put them on
who could be wildly disappointing.
We don't even need to put them on ESPN Plus. We can just tell
them this is your bye week.
Tell them stay home.
Yeah, and then everybody else will be like, oh, this can be fun. I remember 2023 when I watched football games and had fun. This was just a little bit of that feeling.
There was a time not that long ago where I enjoyed Saturday football games, but right now it's kind of tough. So it was nice to have the bye week. As you said, really good slate of games, especially that Oregon-Ohio State game at night. So it's good to just wake up and say, okay, I can watch this. I don't have to worry about seeing the score on the ticker.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about highlights at halftime, people talking about how bad my team is. I can just enjoy the day.
Yeah. I'll get to start out on Saturday with people talking about how bad my team is, more than likely. Unless history holds and FSU beats Duke again, because Duke has never beaten FSU. But this feels like
the time.
It feels like the end. Look, all good things must come to an end. The Sopranos, Breaking Bad, My Joy and Happiness. Again, it's fine.
As someone who doesn't get to go to FSU games as much anymore, do you like the 11 a.m. window? So it's just good or bad, I can get it out of the way?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's where I'm at too.
Yeah. No, I look, as a professional sports broadcaster, I've always loved the 11 a.m. window.
I love 11 a.m. too, yeah.
Yeah. Now, I don't know how you felt when you were producing our pregame show, and the 11 a.m. window meant that we were on at 7 o'clock, which meant that you had to be in the studio at about 6.
That was tough, but it was still at least in that scenario, I knew by 3 o'clock, maybe 4 o'clock, I was probably on my way home.
Yeah.
And I could either, make a healthy decision and sleep, or I could say, oh, well, just, watch more TV. But
yeah,
I had those options.
Yeah. So we never did a pregame show before. I was part of the main Baylor pregame show for a while. And then Nick Jost, who's now at Iowa State, who had been at Nebraska, sat down with Smokey and was like, hey, you guys should do a pregame show before the pregame show. And we're like, say what now? And he's like, no, you should do, they'll do their 2 hours and you do an hour before. And then we sold it out, so we had to build in the next year another hour because all of a sudden Baylor got good. And so Doug Furch, Baylor Alumni Network, set us up with everything. We're always out there. But it never occurred to me until about halfway through that season that the 11 o'clock window meant, we're home at 1 o'clock. I fall asleep for 3 hours. I get up, I shower, I drive a stupid van to the stadium, and then I set up a broadcast hurriedly, no matter what. Whatever's happening. Most of the time, I just still never felt like I had enough time. Even if I got there at 6 o'clock and we were connected at 6:02, the next 58 minutes still felt like
not enough time to really get your bearings under you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was just, I don't miss it at all. We have the best situation. Garrett has now got to experience both worlds. We are now on at the same time every week.
It's the best.
It is so great. It doesn't matter what time Baylor's on. It doesn't matter. We do 9 to 10:30, and then we go home or we go to the game, whatever we need to do. It's beautiful, Stephen. It's beautiful. I know this is maybe boring talk, but people don't realize how liberating it is to only get to watch one game. Like, and here's the thing: if you're covering a game, you might get to see bits and pieces of other games, and you might get a late night game. But when you're covering any game and you have hours of work to do afterwards, you really only get to see that game, and then you get to go home and go, "Who did what now? Wow,
Yeah.
I kind of wish I'd seen that." But
I remember one year as a student, I think it was 2013. TCU and Baylor played on like a Black Friday, and Baylor won. And we were walking. I was doing some post game coverage, and we're walking back, and that was when the kick six happened. And it happened like as we were leaving the stadium. So I just saw on my phone.
I was in the press box, and you know how that is, like the go down to the elevator.
Yes.
Like, it's not the elevator that's closest to you. You go down to like a freight elevator, and they take you. And all of us were like, "Lady, shut up." Like, yeah. So go ahead.
But I just remember seeing on my phone, like, all right, Alabama's going to kick this. And then the game changer thing is trying to describe this kick six on your phone, like in a text form, is not very user friendly. So I just was like, what the heck happened? Like, we walked all the way to this restaurant across campus, and the whole time I'm like, okay, I know Auburn won. I have no idea like how they came about it. And then I saw the highlight, and I was like, man, I wish I would have been just like at my apartment during this moment instead of at the game. But that's how it is.
Yeah.
I also love 11 a.m. games though. Even when I was there, and I know people don't like it because of tailgate and all that, I'm just about the game. So for me, it was like get breakfast, go to the stadium, watch the game, and then I got the whole day.
You know what we called people who complained about getting to drink at 9 o'clock in the morning at FSU? Bitches. That's what we did.
Yep.
Like, oh, okay. Oh, man, I got to get up. No. That means we're going 48 hours strong, buddy. We get a couple little power naps in here, clear the system, and then we're floating kegs at 9 a.m. All right, that's what we're doing.
Especially at that time when the team was so good. I'm sure it was like an event every Saturday.
And here's the thing. We had like 2 a year, noon kickoffs.
That's right, yeah.
Duke was always one of them.
Right.
But yeah, 2 a year, noon kickoffs. Duke and whoever even then, like they play Louisiana Tech, that game was at night. Like, so no. Yeah, we never heard of never bothered me. Of course, again, I get it. I understand the hatred of the 11 a.m. kickoff if you're constantly getting them. You're like, well, can we move this around the day a little bit?
And I mean, in this part of the world, in a lot of the South, like 11 a.m. in September, even October, can be pretty hot.
Yeah, absolutely.
It can be pretty miserable.
Yeah. By the way, at the end of the show, Steven, I want your thoughts on Jerry Jones and his mental capacity right now, which I think is diminishing, as most people in their 80s
tend to do. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, very weird thing. I'll expand more about it later. But, one thing about Jerry is he's always been real
Sharp.
Yes, and very friendly. Like, he understands the game.
Yeah.
He knows what the media is doing. He's very good about being like, oh, you guys, you ask such hard questions.
Yeah.
And he kind of gives his little answers. That was bizarre yesterday.
Yeah. Well, that was 30 years of futility.
That's true.
All rushing back, maybe at one point of where, because Sean Sharif was like, has the standard changed because the standard is supposed to be rings and not these other things. And Jerry's often been like, hey, we won 3 of them. Yeah, it's been a long time, though. Like, I think that's now starting to maybe finally hit Jerry, and maybe all at once, that 1996 was a long time ago. Like, when you see Bill Clinton was the president, when you see Bill Clinton up there now, like, stumping, and he's like old, and he's like, look, we got to do this. And you're like, man, he looks old. Like, he didn't look old in 19, like, he looked. The reason he won the presidency was like young and vibrant. Like that was his whole thing. Like,
Yeah, I mean, there's an entire generation of Cowboys fans now that either never saw the team do it, or like when they were first cheering for the team, saw their team do it, bang, 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 and then have just been waiting since.
Yeah, I was 15, about to turn 16, But 1995 was the season. 96 was the actual year they won the Super Bowl. But 95, 96 season. I had my learner's permit. That's what's going on in my life. I'm now on my like 6th car.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I kind of checked out after the second quarter, reverse pass play because I was like, all right, that's either right on the wall on this one. But I guess Dan Campbell, I mean, do you think he was mad about the way that game ended last year? Like they were running hook and ladders with linemen.
They ran the Billy Bob play. That was the Billy Bob play from Varsity Blues. Yes, he was mad about it. He was absolutely mad about it. And I just look over there and like, here you got a guy from Clifton, Texas, played at A&M, Glen Rose High School, all that. I keep thinking like, maybe that's what they needed was Dan Campbell.
I mean, he fixed the Lions.
Yeah.
Like aside from the Cowboys, and even more so historically, there's not a more inept franchise.
Yeah. Like the Browns I've got to look and going, dang it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, all right, let's talk about some coaches and who's overpaid and underpaid.
All right, let's do it.
Who's just earning the check, let's say. Okay. So number 1 highest paid coach, Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart earning his check.
Yes, he's earning his check at this point.
Number 2, Dabo Sweeney. Was not earning his check last year. So far this year, earning his check, although they do not have a quality win.
No, they don't. I think he'll earn it. I feel like they're most likely going to win that conference. They have a very good chance to make the playoff. But, yeah, it's teetering a little bit for Dabo. This is an important year for him. So far, they've handled business after that embarrassing loss to Georgia to open the season.
Yeah. Number 3, Steve Sarkisian, earning it.
Yes.
Yeah. Number 4, Lincoln Riley, not earning it.
What's his next move if this doesn't work?
I don't know. It's I had questioned him last week. I think you and I even talked about him. And like, hey, like what's going on here with Lincoln Riley? Then he goes out and has 3 timeouts in the bag. Only winds up using one of them after he lets a whole bunch of time wind down. And his explanation is, well, we didn't want them to get the ball back. Yeah, but if they got the ball back after you'd be winning, then you have a better chance to win as opposed to playing for overtime. Like you had plenty of time. But had they gotten the ball back with 15 seconds left and he took one shot and was like, all right, let's play for overtime, that's fine. But to take a shot, get to midfield, be at midfield with a minute left, and then take none of those timeouts until 14 seconds left. It didn't make any sense. So I don't know what his next move is because I thought for sure he was going to be an NFL coach. And I still think he might be an NFL coach. And maybe that's where his heart is because the USC job's hard, man. Like this is hard because they brought him in here with all this fanfare and, private jet, house in Orange County and $10 million a year. And they keep losing 3 games a year at least, if not 5 like they did last year.
He was the hottest name in coaching for a bit. And the NFL rumors were there. I guess I could see him doing like maybe a stint as an OC with an NFL team. Just, hey, let me get reputation back, reestablish who I am, creative offensive mind. But for better or worse, and Oklahoma has their own problems right now, it looks like he kind of dodged that situation, sort of saw the future of like, SEC football. I don't know if I want to be part of that. Then he gets to USC. They end up in the Big Ten, and now he's kind of flaming out here. Just doesn't look great. It looks like he ran from something and ended up failing.
He's doing things like Jerry Jones was yesterday and getting mad at a 22-year-old reporter last year and trying to set these kind of arcane rules on the media and all that. That doesn't help you.
No.
So I don't know. I don't know what's going on with him. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure what his next move would be. And going back to Steve Sarkisian, I mean, I thought that was an okay hire when it happened. I did not see this, but he's figured it out.
Look, and here's the thing. They don't have to worry about him leaving. Like, the only job that can get Steve Sarkisian would be, like, the Bills or something. And they, like, do the Bills want to pay a coach, he's making 10, so you got to pay him 15? Probably not. Like, that's the job that could maybe get him. And he's already been in the NFL, so I don't really see him
making that jump.
Like he's there until he's not, right?
Yeah.
Like it's pretty set right now. So yeah, I think it, you know, and I don't think coach is going to coach for 30 years at the same place anymore, even if they're really successful. But I think a decade in a spot, like if you can retire with $150 million in the bank, you know, or whatever it is between all your, you know, endorsements and this and that and salary, then I think a lot of them will do that and go the way of Bob Stoops, where, you know what, I'm going to enjoy my 50s and 60s and
play golf and
go fishing and get paid, you know, $2 million a year to sit at a table before a game and go, listen, I'll tell you what, Iowa State's got a great defense. I like what they're doing here.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, or what, I mean, that's the thing is okay, well, I'm not going to make 10, but I'll get to make 2 to 5 and work way less and still get to watch film and all those things I want to do, go to whatever locker room I want to, pal around with my buddies, go to a convention, all these things.
Yeah. Have the freedom to coach in some fake pro football league if I want.
Look, Bill Belichick has it made right now.
I know.
Tell me what's bad about Bill Belichick's life that he would want to go back to coaching. And if he does go back to coaching, I don't know.
Yeah, those people are just wired so different. Like, I don't get it. I'm just like, you can do what you want. You have all this downtime. You could travel. And, I mean, if you want to, like, throw yourself into work, you could.
He's making millions of dollars in endorsements and TV. Millions.
And if you want to throw yourself into work, you could get in the business side of things. And
he's got a girlfriend that could be his granddaughter. I mean, again, tell me where this life is worse than coaching the Eagles next year.
Right. Why voluntarily put yourself in a stressful situation again? A high stress environment like that.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I mean, I don't understand.
Or go coach like the Jets or something. Like why?
Yeah. Again, like, and that's going to be a team that probably reaches out to him, even though they've tried and failed a couple times on that same front.
Right.
But yeah, no, why would you do that? People need to be more like Saint Ed Orgeron, and that's what I'm going to call him, Garrett.
I like it.
Good Saint Ed Orgeron, because Ed Orgeron, they're like, listen, Ed,
this isn't working.
This isn't working anymore. And he's like, oh no, I really love coaching. And they're like, yeah, but you're going to have like an $18 million buyout. And he's like, you know what? I don't love coaching. I love not doing anything and getting paid like I'm coaching.
I get to run around, go see my son.
Yeah.
Be a single man. Nobody cares.
Yeah. No, it's great. You can hit on all the girls at gas stations that you want.
Yeah.
No
longer, LSU coach. You're just Ed Orgeron.
Yeah, exactly. And then when people go, hey, there's Ed Orgeron, he can be like, I coach the Rock. I got him on. You want me to text him right now? He'll send me a selfie.
Remember the greatest team of all time? Maybe. I coached though.
Yeah.
I was on the sidelines.
Yeah. Number 5 is Ryan Day. Earning it it's ridiculous. Matt Brown was on the show yesterday, and Matt's an Ohio State alum, and he said there's the rational side of me that's a reporter, and then there's the fan side of me that's like, we can't keep doing this 2-6 against, the top 5 and keeps losing these games to the higher ranked teams. Ryan Day's just not that guy who can beat the big teams. But if Ohio State fires Ryan Day, then he's going to go to Florida or he's going to go somewhere else and just be that dude. I mean, he'll win a ton of games, and they'll be like, I don't know what Ohio State's mad about. Like, oh, we couldn't win one game a year. Like, oh, but you're on the other 11, right? Like, well, yeah. I mean, I know it's a rivalry game, but what's going on here?
I agree with all that. I did see somebody on Reddit said that he's the Michael Jordan of James Franklin's, which I thought was very funny and very, adept. But yeah, he's a good coach. He's assembled a great roster. I get it. Ohio State, they're all about winning titles. And I mean, it's been a decade. In fairness to them too, this team was supposed to be it. And we'll see what Texas does. They might be the juggernaut we thought Ohio State was, but I mean, they have talent all over the place. But yeah, he's an outstanding coach. the grass isn't always greener, but I know that the pressure is just ratcheting up there as they continue to lose those games.
Yeah, it is. And so yeah, we'll see. Now to someone who is not currently earning their salary, Mike Norvell got a massive raise, and he earned one. He's $10 million, $10 million even. He and Kalen DeBoer got the same thing. So he got the same thing at FSU that he would have gotten at Alabama had he taken that job. And I'm curious to see how introspective he can be. Because it worked before, it did not work this year, about building a fully fleshed out recruiting department, which is transfer portal and high school, and improve it. Like he's got to improve the coaches. He's got to, they got to this level. Now he needs to let the other ones move on. I'm not saying fire people, because I don't know if anybody's in firing justification yet, but when their contracts are up and they were kind of hot, he should have let them move on and then brought in some people that could bring new perspective, because that's what you do,
Is all the hot seat talk with him just getting kicked down the road to next year? I mean, is there any pressure right now?
If they do this again next year, then there's a legitimate hot seat. But I do think that there are mitigating factors here where a lot of this was noise outside the program that Mike Norvell and those players did not create, that it was created by the university, it was created by the fan base, and there was this mad scramble for vengeance, as opposed to a longer thought out plan to how do we fix this.
Right.
That's where I think is not his fault. I think the athletic director and president know that more than anyone, because they're at the center of it. Mm-hmm. So, and some of the things they've done has been good. Some of the things they've done have not been so good. But I think that's part of it. And then the impatience factor led into not waiting out Cam Ward and going for DJU. Also, it meant not looking at Kyle McCord or Diego Pavia or any of the guys who've been good transfer-wise other places. Now, not all transfers has been great. Malik Jefferson is probably not going to start again at UCF. It's Ja'Cory Brown's team, it looks like. Right. So not all of them work out, but they picked the one that worked out the least by a long shot.
Well, and there was evidence that DJ was going to figure it out, but it didn't happen. And, yeah, you got to live with those decisions. And that's the problem when you're –
Well, there's also evidence that it was more work than it needed to be.
Yeah, it was a turnover machine, and unless you had a very simplified offense that was not facing great defenses every week, it was going to be a hard sell.
The other thing is that FSU didn't they played 3 conference games before they played their first non-conference game. The ACC certainly was oh, okay, you guys are going to be jerks about this? Here you go.
Well, it's crazy,
and
too.
It made it hard because they had a bullseye, and then they also weren't very good. I honestly don't think that even if somebody else was the quarterback, that they would have been 3-0 or 4-0 through the first 4 weeks anyway. I don't think they would have been 0-4,
Well, and it's crazy, too, how quickly things can go downhill. If you survive that Georgia Tech game somehow, I'm not saying they're going to be great, but maybe you sort of salvage this thing a little bit.
They would have been a 7-5, 8-14 probably.
Yeah.
With this, had that not happened, but again, DJU was the decision that brought them to that, immediately. Mm-hmm. Now, there are other problems that he only exacerbated. So he wasn't the only problem. And he may not have even been the biggest problem. I think the biggest problem was the offensive line, but even still, he didn't do anything to make it better, And so he regressed. And when a quarterback regresses, let's look at the Browns. The Browns have an excellent defense. They've got all these skilled players all over the place. They're really good. Well, their quarterback's regressing, so is everybody else. Mm-hmm. So if you've got a quarterback anchor, you've got to cut it and then see what you can do to see if you can at least get back above the surface. You may not get out of trouble, but you're at least not definitely going to drown anymore.
Right.
And that's what the football gods did by he's injured now, so they don't have to make that decision. So, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see where he is down the line. Kalen DeBoer is number 7. And I would say that, yes, you lose to Vanderbilt, you almost lose to South Carolina, but the flack he took for a T-shirt and losing to Vanderbilt and all that, I think I'd say he's earning it right now. Now, will he be earning it long term? Only if he continues the winning tradition there. But right now in the short term, I think for all the outside BS he has to deal with of like yelling, "You're not Nick Saban," which is like, will these people like tell your wife like, "Oh yeah, well, you're no Kendall Jenner." Like, okay, like, yeah, I mean,
It's a tough job. I mean, I think he's doing the best he can. The Vandy loss was tough, and it was one of those losses that just didn't happen in the Saban era. Like, they'd get upset occasionally, but it wasn't by a school like that, even though Vandy's better, and they're obviously building something. So, yeah, it's nearly impossible to follow. You're following the best coach of all time.
Yeah, like, what are you?
You're following a guy whose bad year was, we lost one game and missed the playoff mainly just because people were tired of us being there.
Yeah. This is like if they flipped Stephen Edey to go on after Sinatra, and people are like, well, why are Stephen Edey after Sinatra? Like, I mean, I'm sure they're fine. Like, you went to see Stephen Edey and no Sinatra happened. You'd be like, well, that was a nice show. Uh-huh. You wouldn't think of that, but, like, Sinatra just played. Like, he just did New York, in my way, and then they're coming out with, like, their little thing. No, I don't think that's how you do it.
Yeah, Kalen DeBoer's a good coach. He's in a tough spot, though.
Yeah. Again, yeah. He's just it's hard to play after Sinatra.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's hard to play after Sinatra, who, in the Rat Pack, was the closing act. Like, when they were up there on stage, they had all these talented guys, Dean and Sammy and all that stuff.
He was the guy.
He was like, when it came to close, the two other mega talented people of the most, like, two of the most talented people of all time were still like, well, no, Frank's going to finish. Mm-hmm. Because that's who Saban is. He's Sinatra. Like, I'm probably dating myself with that reference, even though, like, all that was pretty much over by the time I was alive. Nobody was going to see the Rat Pack in 1980.
I think people still get it. I mean, Frank's really the one, like, as talented as other people are, Frank's really the one that stood the test of time.
Yeah, exactly. Number 8, Brian Kelly. Garrett, I defer to you.
Oh, man. You know what? I think he might be. He turned a corner on me last week. I think that win was pretty impressive. He's, 13-0 right now at night games at LSU, which is pretty damn awesome. He's got that team playing with energy with a lot of freshmen. You lost your best defensive player who you never really could figure out. There you see slight promise with guys like Zy Alexander that the secondary isn't just a dumpster fire. Yeah, I think he's starting to earn his money.
Okay. I agree. I think they're doing more. I think LSU will be fine if Brian Kelly takes the Bobby Bowden approach of, which I think it looks like he is.
Yes, I would agree.
Of let the assistants coach, and your job is to come in and go, we're going for it on this 4th down. Or if we're like to tell them, okay, on this drive, because of the situation is, we have to focus on this, this, and this.
Right.
And then just sit there on the headset and wait for those things to happen.
Yeah.
And then when a bad call happens, you go yell at a guy in stripes.
I think it was also funny, too, how he punched back at Lane Kiffin in the postgame with the little Coke jab. There's the whole thing. So he's earning my respect. I like it.
He'll get like he's never gonna be as beloved as Ed.
No.
Ever.
But it's hard to. Like he's the native, man.
Yeah, and he doesn't need to be either. Like I think
just
from
go win another title and they won't care.
Aside from losing the openers, really the main complaint with Brian Kelly is he's just kind of a weird dude.
Yeah.
And I think he's been trying to be like, hey, I'm a fun dad. Like you can forget about all that screaming and that time that I put a kid in danger in a practice. Like I'm just a cool guy.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you're not.
No, he does have the divorced dad energy.
Yes.
Like
big divorced dad energy.
Like, hey, does your mom let you watch Nightmare on Elm Street? No, but I do.
We're going to Chuck E. Cheese, guys. Dad, we're 17. We don't really.
Honey, they like my 3-bedroom apartment? They do? I told you. It has an Xbox and a PlayStation. So
James loves my waterbed. He and his girlfriend used it all weekend long.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 9, Mark Stoops. I would say at $9 million, Mark Stoops is getting paid like these coaches who've won titles and competed for conference titles, and they're not winning it. I know that's the going rate, but $9 million, and he got a boost after whether he was going to be hired at A&M or not. I don't know how real that is.
I don't think they were going to let it happen.
Yeah.
The fans weren't going to let it happen.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, Mark Stoops, like, he's one of those guys. I think he's a good coach, but there's a number of people around there that's like, oh, well, they do more with less. Yes, but also are they in a place where winning 7 or 8 games is acceptable, you know?
Right.
Like,
you're paying a guy $9 million, and I'll use the same analogy I used with Jimbo Fisher. The Aggies were paying Lexus prices for Ford Ranger performance. Like, that's what they were getting. Like, you know, the Ford Ranger's a dependable truck, right? It's fine. Like, you know, a lot of people drive Ford Rangers. But, like, they don't pay the same price as the Lexus because they're far less features.
sure.
Right? You need a Ford Ranger because, you know, you're going, it's an A to B kind of a thing. You need a work truck. Like, that's why you get that. But if you pay, like, but you're not going to pay $87,000 for a Ford Ranger. And, but that's what they were doing.
You can get a Music City Bowl championship for cheaper.
Yeah, you can. Absolutely. They were paying for high performance, and they were not getting it. Number 10, Lane Kiffin. I would say yes right now, although they've got this, if not now,
no,
thing.
man.
I don't know. I would say no. I think this was supposed to be the year, and I love Lane. I like his personality. I think he's a fun dude, but I just, Garrett, I feel like this was supposed to be the time, and they were the dark horse playoff team.
No, I mean, like, if you're not going to be able to win or make a real push with this squad, what makes you think you're going to with another team? Like, and how many more opportunities or chances are you going to get? Like, I don't know. I think he kind of squandered it this year. He had everything laid on a platter for him. This is the time to do it, and he just laid an egg.
Yeah.
Well, and the Kentucky loss is such a killer. Like, you go on the road to Death Valley and you lose to LSU, okay.
And they should have won. We know Green didn't get hurt, whatever.
Yeah, but you live with that, and there's still opportunities for you to get your goals. But now it's like, I don't know, man. It's just tough. I feel like Lane is he's like your fun uncle.
Yeah.
And you don't like – you like him, but you don't want him playing in the family vacation.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe so. And maybe this is good news for Florida and their pipe dream quest to get him.
Mm.
And it's going to come down to, would I rather be here where I maybe hit a ceiling, or could I go to Florida, who doesn't have one, proven out over history, yet they've somehow found it the last, 17 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, sorry, just cracks me up. That a team that really has no limits on them, continually, like, runs into the wall. I mean, no limits. They have none. Like, there's nothing holding them back from doing anything that Georgia or Alabama or anybody, LSU's doing. But, Garrett, I know you feel the same way. It's hilarious.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing holding them back, but they somehow find a way.
Yeah, I think Billy Napier needs an extension.
Yeah, if there's a hole in the street, they're going to trip in it. Like, they're going to right now.
They're going to go around and find it somehow?
Yeah, they're gonna just walking down the sidewalk. Big sign says hole. Watch out for the hole. Don't step in the hole. And then right then they're gonna be like, yeah, there's a hole. There's a hole. There's a hole. I know there's a hole. I know there's a hole. I know there's a hole. Ah! Hole. That's what's gonna happen to them. So I know that's not very professional of me, as what I'm supposed to be, an unbiased, member of the media, but I'm not pretending anymore. It's hilarious.
Hey, that's fine.
It's hilarious. And look, here's the thing. I have to enjoy their failures because there's nothing like the cocaine high of 13-0 to the morning after a prison cell of 1-5. So, yeah. When I wake up, after my crash, and the other guy's like, "What are you in here for?" I'd be like, "Oh man, I had a crazy night. We did this and this and this and this and this." And then they're like, "Yeah, but wait till you find out what you did after." It's not going to be.
You're going to be here for a long time, bro.
You're going to have some regrets. The show me security cam video, and I'm like, oh, I do not remember that. I do not remember that. Number 11 is Eli Drinkwitz, and fine. I mean, but again, like, They're getting better, but
Yeah.
that's more of a long-term play. Josh Heupel, number 12, same kind of thing to me. Same kind of thing.
Yeah, I think both those guys, I mean, relative to what those programs have been lately, they're earning their check. It's just a matter of when you get better, then you increase expectations. And so at what point do people get fed up with, oh, cool, you won 8 games. Cool, you won 10 games. Now you got to go win 12 or 13. But I think Josh Heupel's in a tougher spot there than Eli because Tennessee's actually seen those high highs before, and they know that it can be done in Knoxville.
Retired stockbroker said, I'll take a freaking El Camino Ranchero from the 70s, 80s over the Little Ranger. I don't think Paul knows pickups. It's not full size. Well, no, I know it's not full size. Hence, why it's worse.
Yeah, why are you paying less for it?
Yeah, that's why you're paying less. So, all right, Steven, the wheel topic.